Good morning. Good morning, my beautiful friends. This is your wake up call with Maui Paul. I am Maui Paul. We are here today to say some nice things about ourselves. And you see, I have quite a crowd gathered today. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Lauren. Good morning, Janet. Good morning, Amanda. It is so nice to see you guys here, and so nice to see. Yeah, it looks like we are once again interstate. Dan's coming in from Omaha. I hope that it is warmer in Omaha than it was previously. Good morning, Lauren from Daytona Beach. I'm positive it's warmer in Daytona Beach than it is in Omaha. And hey, good morning, Shauna. Shauna has arrived today as well. Wonderful to see you too. Yeah, so I know that I got some more folks watching also who have not yet checked in with me. So yeah, just shoot a comment over so I can know that you're here and see who has gathered with me today. Yeah, so we're here to say some good stuff about us to really improve our own mental narratives, to affirm good things in our own worlds, and ultimately to completely change the course of our lives. It doesn't take all that much of a change in order to completely change our destination. Life is something that life is something that is a marathon and not a sprint. And so by simply changing our course ever so slightly, we can end up in a totally different destination. And so let's do that. Let's improve and be more intentional about the destination that we're ending up in. I'm going to pull a card off the top of the deck and ask you if you are the affirmation on the card. We're going to respond out loud together. I am that affirmation. As we do this, we are really building into ourselves. We are affirming what is good. We are recognizing these traits, these characteristics in ourselves, and more importantly, we are giving ourselves the opportunity to see this stuff just manifest in our lives in real time. So let's have some fun today by pulling a card and saying that today I am coachable. I am coachable. I recognize excellence and learn from the best. So I am coachable. I recognize excellence and learn from the best. Are you coachable? You are coachable. You recognize excellence and learn from the best. I'm going to write that down in the comments that I am coachable. I recognize excellence and learn from the best. I love it. I love it, Susan. Good morning, Susan. It's good to see you here today. She's like, I'm not sure. She's not sure that she's coachable. Well, there, Susan. I have news for you. You must have been coachable at one point because you ended up performing at a very high level in some very specific areas that one does not acquire knowledge at performing highly in, except if they learn it from somebody else, except if they observe what works for others. I know that you ended up being quite the coach yourself, and so of course you must have learned that from somebody else. So I am coachable. You are coachable, and you recognized excellence in the past, and you learned from the best. You must have. The evidence is right there in your life, so you should just believe that, even if you don't think that you're particularly coachable right now, or even if you don't think that, even if you can't see it in your own life, I can see it in your life, that you have been coached by others, and that you must have recognized what worked in the lives of other people, because you were then able to turn that around, and or you were able to then impart that knowledge on other people. So you are coachable. You recognize excellence and learn from the best. And so am I. I'm also coachable. So Shauna is intrigued by this card graphic. I know. I think this is a super cool card graphic. I like this one. So when I was when I was younger, I was never very much involved in team sports. So I never had a coach in the way that a lot of people had, like a baseball coach or a football coach, or some coach who did sports or something like that. I never really played team sports. About the only thing that I ever did was I played chess, but I didn't necessarily have a chess coach. Maybe my dad was a bit of a chess coach for me simply because we played every single day. Um, but but the fact is that I recognize that even though I never had a coach when I was a child that I knew of or that had that title, I had plenty of people coaching me. I had plenty of people who were imparting their knowledge and their wisdom on me, and were really building into me, and were cared about me, cared about my growth and development. And so when I look back at my life, I think probably one of the most one of the people who was cheering me on was my mom. My mom is a life coach right now, and is actually a certified life coach and coaches everybody in her life. I remember that when I was a kid, one of the things that she did was she was very goal oriented, and she created this worksheet for the kids to do, for all of her children to do, called this All About Me worksheet. And it said, this is the year. So it was almost like a Mad Lib that we could fill out, if you remember Mad Libs. But instead of just saying, oh, pick a noun, pick a verb, pick an adjective, and then listening to all the funny results, it was like a fill in the blank worksheet. And it said, my name is Paul. Under you fill in your name, and I am X number of years old, and I live here, and this is the date, and when I grow up, I when I grow up, I want to do this. And, within 6 months, this is my goal. Within a year, this is my goal. Within 5 years, this is my goal. Over the course of my lifetime, this is what I'd like to accomplish. These are the places I'd like to visit. These are the places, these are the accomplishments I would like to do in my life. And, as a kid, I remember just being a smart ass and writing all kinds of really funny things into there. And also what I thought things that would be completely ridiculous, goals that I would never achieve, would never even want to achieve, because I thought that, well, I think, I swear I was in my 70s when I was in my, when I was like 8 or 9 years old. I swear I was that level of jaded with the world. But something very interesting happened to me in the course of filling out these all about me's, which was that even though the goals which I had set for myself were kind of silly and not particularly meaningful, I recognized that inside of them were the seeds of meaning, were the seeds of the things that were very important to me. So I would talk about how, oh, well, within 5 years, I'm going to explore the Andromeda Galaxy. Well, of course, when I wrote that, I knew darn well that I wasn't going to be exploring the Andromeda Galaxy because, well, nobody was, and still nobody has. And yet, when I grew up, and even in my childhood, I was still exploring everything. I would still, I would still take really long walks in the woods and go as far away as from home as I possibly could. As soon as I left the house, I went to a different state. I lived in multiple different states. Eventually, I lived in multiple different countries. And so, even though I didn't take that thing seriously, I realized that that exercise had a profound impact on the way that I think. And so I am coachable, even though I didn't necessarily had a coach. And then my mom was probably the most profound coach that I've ever had, and indeed still to this very day is somebody that her perspectives are valuable, and I'll listen to them. So I remember that when I was looking up adjectives, I looked up a list of positive adjectives to to make into I am cards. I started going through the dictionary, and I was like, I basically read the dictionary from cover to cover, and I picked all the words that I thought would be a lot of fun to use I am cards, words that I would like to be called myself. I remember that coachable was one that to me, I had the same exact reaction as Susan did. I was like, I'm not coachable, and why would I want anybody to call me that? Doesn't that imply that that I don't know something, that I'm not as good as I could be? Well, of course it does. Of course it implies that I don't know something. There's a lot of things I don't know. In fact, I would venture a guess to say that I don't know way more stuff than I do. And so eventually I got to this point of realizing that not only am I coachable, because when I've seen people who are doing things that I want to do, that I've adopted their ways of being, and then discarded what I discarded the parts of their ways of being that weren't for me, and then added into my own, and basically gave it my own unique style. But ultimately, I was thinking about what coachability is, and it is indeed, it's recognizing excellence. It's recognizing that there are other people in this world who can do things at a far better and higher degree than I can. And why wouldn't I learn from them? Why wouldn't I take their tips and tricks? Why wouldn't I? It is to my benefit to be able to learn from people who are good at what they do. And so ever since I recognized that, I have made it my life's mission to find out what somebody is good at, to ask the questions and find out what they're good at, and then get their perspectives as to why they're good at that. And whether you know it or not, in our conversations, the conversations that I have had with you personally, that I have always asked questions to find out, what is your past? What is it that you're good at? What is it that you're accomplished at? How is it that you're living your life in a way that I like and respect? And then what are your little tidbits of knowledge? What wisdom can I get from you? And I tell you the truth, I have done this with every single person on this call. Every single if you're watching this right now, if you are leaving me comments right now, you and I have had conversations like this, because I am coachable and I recognize excellence and learn from the best. And excellence is not always manifest in what like worldly achievement. There are lots of people on my board of directors who would never, my personal board of directors, who don't even know they're on my personal board of directors, and who would never, would never have Inc. magazine or GQ magazine make write an article about them. And yet, every single person that I know is successful in one way or another. And I like to hang out with these successful people, and I desire and am very intentional about bringing some of that success into my own world, bringing some of that success in how we are being. So ultimately, life is about how we are being, and not necessarily what we are doing. What we are doing proceeds from how we are being. So I am coachable. I recognize excellence and learn from the best. And whether you believe it or not, there is some way in your life that you are better than me, that you are more experienced than me, that you know more than I do, that you are doing life better than I am. And so consequently, I am interested in knowing exactly how you're doing it, what you're doing, what perspectives you have adopted, because by simply staying humble and recognizing that there's a lot of people in this world who know a lot more than I do about a lot of things and can teach me this stuff, then I can, and when I recognize that excellence and choose to learn from that, then I get to take shortcuts through life. I'm working right now with a new client for my marketing business, and I was asking them what exactly they needed, because they already have a whole bunch of established marketing campaigns. And they said, really, what we need is somebody to help us go through this software. And when we say this is what we want to accomplish, we need somebody to point at the buttons and walk us through this. We need a done with you kind of a solution. And as I was thinking about that, I recognized that what they were really looking for was they were looking for a coach. They were looking for somebody who already knew how to get it done and could just point them in the correct direction, so that they wouldn't have to learn it from scratch, to accelerate their learning curve. And the people that I'm talking to in order to accomplish this are people who are high level in their marketing career, in the organization. So they recognize, they're like, I said, well, there's this whole learning and development path that you can go down. And they said, yeah, that's nice. And we understand. And of course we're going to go down that, but we've made this investment and we would like this investment to pay off very quickly. And we understand that if we want to make this investment pay off very quickly, that we need to work with somebody who knows what they're doing. So we just would like to hire you to teach us so that we know what we're doing. And I realized, I was like, wait a minute, I went through all of the education. I'm a lot more experienced than they are, and I really can completely accelerate their learning curve. And when the I Am Coachable card came up today, I realized that that's exactly what coaches do. They help us to accelerate our own learning curve. They've already walked the path, and because that they've walked the path, our potential to walk the path is better than them. Our potential to reach greater heights That's the whole thing that a coach does. I remember that I was talking with I had met gosh, I forget the guy's name, but somebody who's with the PGA Tour. But anyway, this guy was basically a swing coach for the for some various golfers on the PGA Tour. And I said, well, what's your golf game like? He says it's not nearly as good as the people that I coach. And I said, so how is it that they respect you to be their coach when you don't play golf as well as they do? And he said, well, he said because I know how to swing a club, and I know how to teach them how to swing a club better. He's like, and I can recognize I can recognize the times when they're not swinging it as well as they could be, and I can tell them exactly what to do in order to swing it better. He's like, I can't play golf as well as they can, but I know how to do this specific thing better, and I know how to help them get to that next level. And so even though I don't play golf at a PGA Tour level, I still have the ability to teach PGA Tour level golfers. And I remembered that conversation really stuck with me because I just realized that even though we might not think that we are better than the people that we are teaching, oftentimes that the fact is that just the way that we're saying it, or the way that we can recognize how other people can be better off in their own lives, is tremendously valuable to them. When how I love it when somebody gives me an honest word about myself. How I love it when somebody points something out in me that I hadn't seen before, and given me a new perspective, and allowed me to really to grow and to develop and to be better today than I was yesterday. And how grateful I am when somebody is willing to take time out of their day to notice that I could be doing something a little bit better, and then to approach me with some empathy and say, hey, I noticed that you're doing this, and I have some experience doing this, and perhaps you might want to try this, this other way of doing it. So I am coachable, and you are coachable today, and we recognize excellence and learn from the best. So today, let's look around us, and let's notice where people are doing better than us, and then ask them for what kind of tidbits of information they have to impart on us, what kind of wisdom they have for us, what kind of understanding that they can give us, what kind of tips and tricks that we can get from them in order to really accelerate our own lives. That was fun. What a great card. I see that I see that you guys have been commenting a lot. So let's see here. Well, thank you so much for telling me that I'm your motivational coach there, Lauren. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. I'm my own, I guess, or should I say, I always do this. I do this for myself first to get out of bed. To be honest with you, I was not interested in getting out of bed this morning, and yet I was actually, I was actually thinking to myself, I was like, why on earth, if the wake up call just went off automatically in the morning. Somebody had suggested to me that I just have the wake up call go off automatically in the morning if I didn't want to get out of bed. I was like, if I had the wake up call going off automatically in the morning, I wouldn't have gotten up today. And I did not want to get out of bed. And yet, because I got out of bed and because this card came up, I was able to really have a great wake up call. And so thank you for encouraging me to get out of bed and continue doing this. Let's see. Good morning, Eric. It's good to see that you have come over here. Janet says the best coaches I've ever spent time with spent more time helping their students discover their individual strengths than teaching them skills or games. I like that. I like that perspective, Janet. A lot of the best coaches that I've ever worked with, and once again, I've never really worked with somebody who has the title of coach, but I've definitely been coached by many people. But they just always know how to ask the correct questions. They just know how to. They just ask an insightful question that makes me think about the way that I'm doing things. And when I also look at the way that they do things, I'm like, wait a minute, I can make this little change and get a much better result. Good morning, Teresa. Good to see you here today. Janet, once again, I set feeling goals rather than accomplishment goals. The adventures I go on fulfill those feelings in concrete ways that I never could have scripted myself. And that's the way life proceeds. When I look back at my life has proceeded in a very interesting way. And there's a quote that says, if I could go back and do it all again, I would make all the same mistakes, only sooner. And I think that that really is an accurate description of my life. If I could go back and live my life again, I would make the same exact mistakes. My life has proceeded in this beautiful way. I'd just do it all sooner and end up living a bit more life, and not, not wallow in places that I, for nearly as long, but just make the mistakes, get over them, learn the lessons, but do it sooner. And so but ultimately, I'm also chasing a feeling state. I'm not chasing an individual thing. We when we set goals, we're not interested in the actual fulfillment of those goals. I remember talking to somebody maybe a year ago, and they had just recently bought their dream car. And I remember talking to them about their dream car. And I was like, and they were talking about how this was the fulfillment of a dream they'd had since they were a kid, how they had seen one of these cars, and they're like, one day I'll own one of those. And they had worked very hard, and they had, life had gotten in the way, and they had taken a million detours. But eventually now, here that car was sitting in their garage. And they're like, but I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel like this car has done anything for me. Like, I have this, I've attained it, I've gotten it, I won, I've won life, I've achieved my dream. Now what? And ultimately, the stuff that we do, the titles that we accumulate, the accomplishments that we have, all of that stuff is in service to a feeling of fulfillment that we seek. It is not about the stuff. It is not about the titles. It is not about the accomplishments. It is about the feeling. So when you say that you set feeling goals rather than accomplishment goals, I understand. So when we feel a certain way, when we have a level of contentment, man, that's what life's all about. We have the greatest thing. Marketers will always try to tell us that we need to buy something in order to feel that contentment. And the reality is that we can feel that contentment right now. And we can recognize other people who have these feelings and say, what did they do in their lives? The kind of people who have the calm that I like to experience in my life, the people who have the level of fulfillment that I like to experience in my life, they have all achieved it in different ways than I've achieved my own personal calm and fulfillment. And you, when you achieve these things, and as you are perpetually achieving these things, these feeling states that you like, you are doing it in totally different ways than I am going to do it. It's not about following a script and being a carbon copy of me. It's not about being a carbon copy of the people who coach us. It's not about even doing the same things as the people who coach us. It's about understanding how to achieve those feelings that we seek, and then achieving them. Let's see. So, yeah. Let's see. Eric says it's about how we communicate with each other honestly. Yeah, it is, and about how we hmm, yeah, how we are brave enough to communicate with each other honestly. Coaches will say things that coaches will tell you what you're doing wrong. Coaches will tell you what you're doing right as well. Coaches aren't all attaboys. Coaches oftentimes will be like, "Hey, do this thing," or "Hey, ask a difficult question and make you think." And so, and that requires a level of honesty. Good morning, Amanda. Good to see you here today. She says, "Each one teach one." I love it. Every one of us has the ability to teach one person. Go teach somebody something today, and the life will be better for it. Let's see. Oh, oh, Sean, I'm always impressed by how you remember words that I use on the wake-up call. She says, "Sprezzatura." Sprezzatura is a studied effortlessness. It is how we move through life. It's an Italian word. It means how do we move through life effortlessly, by studying what is most important to us, and then just sort of relaxing into it. I believe that the way that I dress has a certain element of sprezzatura to it. In fact, if you look at Italian fashion looks like it was just kind of thrown together, and yet it looks incredible. And so, I mean, just the cut of an Italian suit is very different than the cut of a French suit or an English suit. English suits and French suits look a lot more stuffy and a lot more structured. Italian suits look like they just kind of belong on the body, like they just kind of sit on the body. Sprezzatura, good word. Amanda says it gives yourself a purpose each day to push through the training sessions and to achieve the end result. Absolutely, it does give you a purpose to do that. And as we push through that hard stuff that is required for achieving anything that's worth achieving, because anything that's worth achieving requires changing us. Anything that is worth achieving involves us becoming different people. And ultimately, the reward for the achievement is not the achievement or the trappings of the achievement. It is the people that we become in the process of the achieving, and the people that we come in the process of the achieving is, one of those aspects is, of course, the feeling states that we get to really enjoy while we're at it. So today, let's be coachable. Let's find people who are doing well at whatever it is that they're doing. Let's ask them the right questions, and ultimately, let's be open to the fact when they ask us questions that perhaps are confronting to the way that we are currently living, because as people are honest and enough to do this for us, they are giving us a tremendous gift. They are giving us a tremendous gift, just like Eric says, of accountability to them, accountability to ourselves. Brenda Jean has um, she has this little matrix that comes from Gretchen Rubin that talks about how do we respond to internal and external accountability. And some people respond very well to both internal and external. Some people respond only to internal, but external accountability that doesn't do anything for them. Some people only respond to external accountability, but they couldn't make themselves do something if they tried. And some people respond to neither. I'm one of those people who responds to neither external or internal accountability. And so the people who respond to neither, respond from a sense of self, which is why I have a whole set of I am cards to give myself a sense of self, to get myself out of bed in the morning, because I am coachable. When she told me about that matrix, I thought about it and I was like, wait a minute, this is a tool that will help me in my life. And so when somebody introduces us to a tool that will help us in our lives, then it is incumbent upon us to use that tool. So, all right, guys, let's. This thing is starting to run pretty long today. It has been so fun to hang out with you. Thank you so much for being here. I love you guys, and I think you're amazing. And you guys hold me accountable. Literally today, you held me accountable to get myself out of bed in the morning, and I'm so happy that I did. So I'll be back tomorrow with another empowering card, another message. So again, thank you guys so much for being here. I love you and care about you, and I believe that you are coachable, and I am coached by you. So let's go out there. Let's pay attention to the people who are doing what we want to do, who are feeling the way that we want to feel, who are being the way that we desire to be. And as we do that, we are coachable because we recognize excellence and learn from the best. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until then, like I said before, I love you and care about you and believe in you and think that you're an amazing person, and always am willing to ask you the correct questions in order for you to continue to fulfill your utmost potential, because your utmost potential is so much more than any of us could even believe at this point. I'll talk to you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Aloha from paradise.